Good morning, everybody. Today's video tutorial, I'm going to go over how to alleviate some tight hamstrings, or this exercise can actually be used to fire up a VMO or a quad that isn't firing up, improve the hip extension. Now, a lot of times people will incur these chronic, hamstring strains because they think it's tight. Some of the times, though, it could be nerve tension and it could be a lack of hip extension on the opposite side. So, we're going to evaluate using an active straight leg raise. Basically lay down flat, okay, toes up, and give a lift, okay? Now ideally 80 to 90 degrees is what we're looking for, but if one side feels a little bit more wound up or feels different, we're gonna assume that that's the tight side. Now, when I am doing hip flexion on the left, I'm essentially doing hip extension on the right. So if I don't have a good length on the hip flexor on this side, or a hypertonic or overused quad, it's going to limit my ability to flex this leg. So before we start mobilizing the side, I'm going to improve the hip extension here. I'm going to take Mr. Acupressure ball, and we're going to do some pinning and moving. So you're going to take it, put it on the inside of that hip bone, find the nasties. If you find a good spot, and it might be a little bit more in the abdomen, might be a little higher up, just go wherever it feels like it needs a little bit of work. I can lay down here, I can do some knee flexion, I can do some hip rotation if that still feels okay. This is where we get into the pin and move. Neck neutral, squeeze that glute, drive that up. So I'm pinning on to that anterior hip muscles, psoas, iliacus, abdominals. And I'm stripping to create more hip extension. Now watch that you're not going into hyperextension for your back, so you don't want to have any pinchy backs. So try and pull that belly button up just a little bit, and you're just using your body weight, and you're driving this hip up, like so. Okay. Now you can also pair this up by doing some pinning and moving on the hamstring, so you can sit down on a bench, pin it, and floss that. So that's a nice combination. But we're just going to target this. Now we're going to use the foam roller, but we're not going to use it to roll up the muscles. We're going to use it to give us a nice high bridge. So this is what I kind of call a supercharged straight leg raise, because you're going to go into a suspended position here to really fire up that posterior chain. And you're going to really fire up the quads to link up with your glutes. So we have a little bit of tightness on the left side. So I'm going to breath. Pull those ribs down, easy core set, squeeze the glutes, and I'm going to give a lift. Now this down leg, I'm pointing the toes on purpose because the calf muscles work with the glutes. The harder contraction I get here, the better contraction I get here through that cross chord reflex. So for the gate reflex, if this is sloppy and lazy, this actually winds up. But if I really lock this, I get more mobility. Now, I'm really fired up this quad here, pointing those toes, and it leaves me room to move this a little bit more freely. As I sit here, I'm going to floss some nerves. So I'm going to do some ankle pumps. And it's going to feel a little stretchy maybe behind the knee. Okay? And you'll watch that the range of motion will slowly start to improve. Now I'm going to floss behind the knee. Okay? Pay attention to this support leg. If this starts to dip, we start to get a little tighter on the left side. Okay? Lock that out, see if it goes a little bit more. I'm going to give a little bit of hip rotation. Like so. Try and keep that heel pointing towards the sky so that you can keep a little tension on the nerves. Like so. Good. And range of motion slowly starts to improve. Now if you get past that 90 degrees, great. We can add on a little resistance here with Mr. Kettlebell. We'll move these guys out of the way. This will just add a little bit more tension cross body. So shoulder flexion, hip flexion go together because of the gate reflex. So I can add a little bit of extra resistance here to add a little bit more compression into the system, as long as I can control it. Now, just for added fun, if you can get your leg past 90, you can throw in a little bit of rotation. Now we can direct some of that rotation or mobility through the T-spine. If you cannot get the leg to 90 or past 90, I don't recommend this because the rotation may end up in your lower back. So we don't want to rotate through the lumbar spine, we want to direct that through the T-spine. And the other cue is keep opposite shoulder pinned on the floor. And I do recommend that you reset each time because things will get fatigued pretty quickly. Okay? So we'll check straight leg raise on that left side again because it felt a little wound up. So here's the right, here's the left, and that feels about the same. And I think it looks about the same. So now that you have symmetry in tension in the pelvis, now you can go to your kettlebell swings safely, you can do your deadlifts safely without increased risk of causing torsion or pain or injury in the back or tweaking a hamstring. Hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you have any questions on this. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's not just kind of stretching hamstrings. You're strengthening, lengthening, mobilizing the nervous tissue. And if you can really dial in these exercises, they're never really doing one thing. If you have that understanding of mechanics and how the body's connected, you can use one exercise to fix 5 things. I hope you found this helpful. If you want more information, head over to tomswells.com for more insights.